they actually got that green light for the moment.
Welcome to the Temple of Speed and welcome to round 7 of the Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship. Tonight we embark on the second half of a season that has already delivered much drama and entertainment and has much more in store across the 12 remaining races. With the absence of Michael Neumeyer and Nicholas Laubich, the doors were wide open for two first-time winners in the series last week, Tobias Ogrodnik delivering on the promise he's shown all season to convert a pole position to the race win in race 1, whilst Emil Vinberg at long last was able to claim his and Cars Competition's first ARL win as he capitalised on a fueling error from EVSR's James Crouch. Tonight we are at Monza, one of the fastest circuits in the world and one where tactical awareness and patience will be vital to claim a good points haul. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Dane Baird joins me in the commentary box. Mark Chancer and Sam Kumo are working in the background to deliver this terrific broadcast on Apex Racing TV, and also a huge thanks to Andy Taylor, Christian Steenberg and Colin Weatherholt for producing our stunning graphics and video content for this series. And also thanks to Wave Italy, the title sponsor for the Apex Racing League GT Championship, for supporting the series and offering some super prizes for the top runners in the Pro and AM Drivers Championships. Wave Italy aims to offer the best experience in driver simulation by conveying the thrill of a real race to casual racers and professionals of sim racing. They offer extremely realistic peripherals that can be used for private events and personal use, and their driver tuition based in Verona, Italy is a fantastic way to improve your sim racing performance. Dane, it's fantastic to have you back after a few weeks. We've got the second half of the championship coming up for 6 rounds to go, and in the championship at the moment there's been quite a swing for Aaron Power recently, with his championship rivals faltering last time out Hockenheim, neither one being able to attend the meeting. Even with the drop score, which kind of harms Power more than anyone else, he's got a healthy lead going into the second half of the championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's got a very healthy lead up there in first place. I think that's 71 points up there at the top for the EVSR driver, and his EVSR teammates not doing too badly either, 6th, 7th and 8th for his teammates. But yeah, Neumeyer and Laubich not able to attend a couple of meetings, not helping their championship hopes at all really. Daniel Lee not too far off the top there either, only about 100 points back. But yeah, the top of the standings, very interesting stuff, and we're only halfway through the season. They're still fairly close, I would say, up at the top. So yeah, we have an interesting championship battle ahead of us as we head into the second half of the season. Well, here at Monza then, and here's how a lap of the circuit looks down the main straight before getting hard onto the brakes into turns 1 and 2. It's the first of 3 chicanes on the circuit, and also the most recently modified with its current version, first used in the year 2000. The track tightens up massively here, so lap 1 wrecks are almost guaranteed. Then the drivers will make their way through Curva Grande, turn 3, easily flat out in these GTE cars, and a place for drivers to use the draft to their full advantage as they ready themselves for the second chicane at turns 4 and 5, taking as much curb as they dare to straight line it as much as possible. Turns 4 and 5, big curbs there, but they will be taking as much as possible. From here, they'll make their way into the Lesmos, 2 right-handers. The second is a little bit tighter than the first one, and of all the corners on the circuit, these are probably the most likely places for drivers to run wide and pick up a 1x, so they have to take a bit of extra caution here, especially in the longer feature race tonight. Then the drivers will make their way onto the second DRS straight of the lap, of course a DRS in GTE cars though, and through the bridge underneath the old oval before getting back onto the brakes for the third and final chicane, this time at Ascari, turns 8, 9 and 10. Left, right, left, probably the trickiest complex on the circuit. Watch for drivers running extremely wide here on exit, as the tarmac connecting the junior circuit back to the GP circuit here is considered part of the racing surface by iRacing, so no 1x to be found. Finally, turn 11 Parabolica, the infamous increasing radius corner to end the lap, unchanged since 1955. It's the oldest corner on the modern day circuit. 11 corners here at Monza, 4 to the left and 7 to the right. And we're expecting lap times in and around the 1:43 to 44 mark, increasing throughout the race as the track heats up and the tyres wear. The circuit's been in operation for 99 years, since 1922, and has been a staple on nearly every European racing series ever since. Nowadays, F1, GT World Challenge and WEC all still race around this truly historic circuit. Sam, the circuit is so top speed heavy here at Monza. The drivers are running as little wing as possible on their cars. The lowest settings, 0 degrees of wing on some of the drivers' setups. But that's going to allow them to not get left behind on the straights, but it does mean that the car's an absolute handful to drive through the corners. So we think we might see a few mistakes heading into the corners in these races.
Yeah, I think so, and of course you need that straight line speed for out-and-out performance, but also with the reverse grid that we have for race 2 in this series, you need to be able to overtake, and I mean, Danny Lee's talked about it plenty in the past, how he really looks to set up the car with a lot of top speed just so that he can make those overtakes. And I think the most similar round to this that we've had so far this season, Dane, is probably the Red Bull Ring, and I think maybe the BMW could be quite strong, maybe the Porsche not quite so strong. You know, the Porsche usually very good, kind of do the medium speed and high speed corners. So yeah, a little bit different to what we've seen at Silverstone and Hockenheim, and a chance for the likes of Tom Bingham, for example, running the M8 to get back some points.
Yeah, quite possibly. It'll be interesting to see what car is the fastest. Obviously, the Corvette has been the car of choice for basically the entire first half of the season. No large updates to the cars as far as I'm concerned in the last few weeks, so I think that will be much of the same, but I think the Porsches might have a bit of a good time here as well. The Ferraris usually have pretty good top speed here, but I don't think we have any Ferraris in the field, actually, like very few, if that. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the cars handle the circuit. So a very different circuit to a lot of the tracks that we have across the calendar. It's very, very top speed heavy. You really do need a good straight line speed to do well at this circuit. The corners are all basically stop the car, get it in, and then go again. So yeah, it's not too much needed in terms of downforce. As I said, the cars are basically across the board going to be running the lowest downforce possible.
As we cut to qualifying, the final minutes of qualifying, in fact, and at the moment, it is a Porsche at the front, so I think you were probably right on that one, Dane, how the Porsches might have some luck around this circuit, because he's currently 0.3 of a second clear is Nicholas Laubisch, 3rd place in the championship. Remember, Ogrenik in 2nd position, race winner last time out. Of course, Hutchinson doing very well in his Ford GT up there in 3rd. Then it's the top of the Corvettes with Danny Lee, Drew Becker qualifying very well, and Aaron Powell, championship leader, down in 13th position, Dane. Now, Aaron's qualifying has taken a bit of a hit in recent rounds. It hasn't quite been as strong as it was in the early rounds, but 13th, that's really not what we expected.
Especially not from the championship leader. No, he's normally been up there, but yeah, definitely not 13th as qualifying ends off here. Checkered flag on that session, and we'll get ready to grid for race number 1. But yeah, Powell in 13th, definitely not where we would expect to see him. Definitely would expect to see him up in the top 5 or 6 cars at most. So yeah, it's interesting for him. He's going to have to try and make his way through a very stacked field. There are lots of very quick drivers.
Yeah, there sure are, and I think probably the fastest of all of them, Nicholas Laubisch, at the head. And remember, he came from a similar deficit last season to win the title. So he can bring it back, can Nicholas, but he really needs to start his championship comeback tonight, ideally. Tobias Ogrenik really coming on strong as this season goes on. He lines up on the front row alongside the defending champion. Then it's Mark Hutchinson, which I believe is his best qualifying of the season. Danny Lee with one of his best qualifyings of the season, actually, for Pineapple Grips. Drew Becker, another storming performance from the amateur driver, up there in 5th place. Jensen Adriansens, who has moved to the Porsche for the this round of the championship, up there in 6th. Then it's Tom Brown, Christian Engelhardt with an excellent qualifying, ahead of Emil Vinbo, who won last time out at Hockenheim, and Dara Adrianson's amateur championship leader. Then it's Dean Powell, James Crouch in 12th position. Then it is Aaron Powell, Kevin Kitzelman, Matt Chambers, Chris Van Den Nesse, Daniel Civi-Sabo, Colin McKenzie, Steve Burke and David Bush rounding out the top 20. Stephen Broomfield should be taking the grid. He's just taking a little while to get onto the starting line at the moment. Angel Pedrero will be alongside him. Then it's David Gurry, Christoph Adriana in his return to the championship, Jack Tingy, Miguel Beltran, Nicholas Matthews, Chris Prescott, John Tressida, Simon Kress, James Koulibaly and Dominic Linden. I certainly know that Kress is going to have to be starting from the pits. I believe Prescott as well. Tressida and Koulibaly and Linden, I think, are all right to take the start. But honestly, Dane, you hinted at it in your track guide. The pit lane start might be the place to start around this circuit, because with such a big grid that we have for this, 30 cars heading into turn 1, the chances of collisions are astronomically high.
Oh yeah, this circuit has a bit of a reputation at turn 1 for large pileups. The track is very wide on the start-finish line, and then goes to probably the tightest part of the circuit into the first chicane. It is an incredibly tight 2 corners, so yeah, it's probably not the most ideal turn 1, but yeah, it definitely does have a bit of a reputation for causing incidents, and I think the drivers will have to watch out for that. Qualifying right at the front, probably your best bet of avoiding any of those. But yeah, the drivers starting from the pits should be able to just pick their way through and gain a couple paces right off the bat.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that one. Keep an eye out as well into the De La Rochière chicane as well. And maybe Ascari also narrows up. Plenty of pinch points around this Monza circuit, as this is race 1 of round 7 of the Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship. Nicholas Dalbeach is starting on the pole position. It is a very long run. He needs to make sure he gets a good jump so that he's not vulnerable from the slipstream heading into the first corner of the lap. The pace car comes in. Dalbeach holds the field, and now he puts his foot down. It was a very strong start for Hutchinson, who's immediately up into 2nd position, so not the start that Ogrenek needed whatsoever. Lead trying to challenge as well, heading down to turn 1. Engelhardt's on the outside. We've got Vinbo trying to make it 4 wide on the inside, and he's going to go on the grass. There's Vinbo. Can he keep it on track? In fact, there's an instant off, and Vinbo is smashed into the escape road right there. Lee will try to continue without a fast repair. Drew Becker was momentarily up into 2nd place, but that was because he cut the chicane and now it's got a huge slowdown. So the order is going to make a massive turn here, and I was concentrating on Vinbo going down the inside there, Dane, but the initial contact was actually alongside him.
Yeah, absolutely, and then just onto the grass. He couldn't quite get all 4 wheels onto the circuit, onto the tarmac, and yeah, lost grip. There's more contact in the back there, as you can see, heading into the 2nd chicane, as the drivers will try to make their way through cleanly. I don't think quite a few of them have managed to do so, but Dalbeach very nicely up in front there, and oh, another car around. It's Kittelman. He's into the barriers hard as well. The back of his car bent in there. It looks like he's just lost it on entry, maybe got into the grass a bit, and that sent him right down to the back of the field.
Shame for Kitzelman, who'd been able to gain a few places. Gary losing out to Adriansons of the Dow variety, but Dow's cut the corner there, and that's going to surely be a huge slowdown. Now, they do let you off a fair amount there, but you can see he was actually on the inside of the sausage curb, so that's really going to punish him on the first lap. So many drivers falling victim to those slowdowns in the early stage, so Gary at least takes that position back. So out in the lead, Nicholas Dalbeach for Urano eSport could have an easy run at this one. He's got a 1.5 second lead over Hutchinson. Jensen Adrianson's on for his first ever podium in the series, I believe. Is the defending amateur champion up there in 3rd place. Tom Brown, though, just moving past him up into the top 3. Behind them, it's Chambers. Sivi Sabi just going past Van der Nesse, albeit I think that might be the Hungarian actually defending that position more than anything. Van der Nesse is top of the amateur drivers. Burke in 2nd place there. Then it's Becker after his great qualifying, but got caught up in that lap 1 mess. Gary and Tressida, he started way at the back. Tressida up 16 places. He's gone up over half the order already, and crucially, has a clean car.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the Evo SR cars here battling away. Oh, looks like Adrianson's wanted to go up the inside into the chicane there, but the door was shut by Tressida there, and it's allowing his teammate Powell to try and move up the order a bit. Obviously, Powell not having the best time out there in qualifying, and has a bit of damage to his car as well here in the race, not being able to gain any positions despite all the carnage that happened in front of him. So he's got a lot to do in the remaining few laps of the race, as we're already 3 minutes in, and there is Danny Lee, and he is missing the entirety of the back of the cockpit. We saw that happen at Red Bull Ring, actually. I think it was Crouch at a Red Bull Ring who lost the back of his car. It was a bit off-putting for the drivers following him, and looks like it might be affecting Lee there as well. He's trying to get past Prescott at the moment. Wonder if that's going to affect his top speed at all.
Looks like it is. Wow, yeah, that gap
wow.
going from maybe 1 car length to 2 by the end of that straight, despite having the draft. So you think it might be best for him to pick up the faster pair day?
I would probably say so. He'll have to do a couple of laps just to get up to speed and see how much time he is losing, and then obviously work out if it will be better in the long run for him to make his way down the pits, because you will lose quite a lot of time. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see to see if he does do that. 20 minutes left in the race still, so plenty of time for him to do that if he thinks it's viable. As here is Crouch and Brimford going side by side into the 2nd chicane. Crouch on the outside and gets in front before the braking zone. Brimford backs out of that one, and Crouch is in 10th.
Sivi Sabo was cutting across the chicane there. I'm not sure if he'll pick up a slowdown for that one. When they tried to go up the inside into the De La Rogier chicane right there, but couldn't quite make it stick, and these guys losing each other loads of time. That's quite why this pack has grown quite so big. And they got Aaron Powell as well in 12th position, who, you know, had a poor qualifying Powell, but undoubtedly will be catching up to these drivers as long as he has avoided damage in the early stages. So he may join the party. That looks fairly clean, does that car. Maybe a couple of scuffs, but actually can't really notice anything. His pace isn't very good though. He's 2 seconds slower, but that could well be due to overtaking Gary on that last lap. Burke and Becker just switching around for 2nd position here. This should be a good round for Van der Nesse potentially with that BMW. But he's at threat of losing this amateur class lead at the moment, as they are alongside. And this is a great position now for Becker to be in, because neither of the cars ahead have a slipstream.
Yeah, and now he'll try to pull out all the way to the outside line, gets blocked there, and he has to fall back in line for now, as he's just been sent up the inside by Crouch into the 1st chicane. Crouch trying to get the switch back down as well. He's got to watch out though, because he's got Brimford right on his tail still. Hasn't been able to get rid of the Centurion Racing driver, as you would expect here at Monza. Slipstream draft, very effective. Even on 0 wing, the cars won't punch a massive hole through the air, but it's definitely enough down the long straights to make quite a lot of a difference. As he actually was a bit wide through there, not taking as much curb as he really needs to. You can see how much time he's lost to Becker in front of him, but luckily not able to, or Bramford not able to make anything happen into the Lesbos. Not really an overtaking opportunity.
No, it's all about just, you know, staying in line, very much kind of one line through those corners, particularly the 2nd Lesmo, just about clipping that inside curb, which can be very dangerous if you catch too much of it. looked like Silvio Sabre was kind of getting away from these guys as they were battling, but actually a pretty good start to this lap for Van der Nesse, and that gap between 6th and 7th overall is still fairly close. And just a reminder to any new viewers, of course, thank you very much for tuning in for this around the championship, but you get points for your overall position. So, you know, we've got amateurs racing pros here. They still want to beat one another. It's not just about battling your own kind, it's about beating everyone out on circuit. So that's maybe why you're seeing the racing that you are, as well, Van der Nesse is able to get away here because Burke and Becker are preoccupying themselves. It's Becker in the Corvette, Burke in the Porsche, and it looks like the 215 is going to get the advantage.
Up the inside, there's actually a bit of a pace advantage for the Porsche there as they almost make contact, still side by side on the second apex. Oh, when he's run wide and almost making contact with Crouch. I think he actually did there make contact with Crouch. Luckily, he didn't turn him right around, but look how much time he's lost there. He's got a 1x as well, which might not be significant in this race, but if it happened in the feature race, that might be one on the way to a drive-through penalty. But yeah, he's lost so much time now as Becker. Really unfortunate, just trying to keep his position, and it's just so difficult to hold the outside through turn 2. It's just begging you to drift wide into the gravel, and yeah, that's what just happened.
Yeah, so desperate to get on the power early, and yeah, frustrating day so far for Drew Becker, but we know that he has got a lot of speed in that car, and we've also got the reverse grid of 15 later on, so he needs to make sure that he doesn't drop too far down. That would mean that currently Aaron Powell would be on reverse grid pole, and it seems as though Powell's got damage or something, because Powell is... oh, sorry, that's Dean Powell, apologies. Aaron Powell in 12th position. So, but yeah, Aaron's still not going very quick. 46ers, whilst the leaders are in the 44s, as we might get a replay in just a moment.
And that is one of the Porsches off into turn 1. Not the ideal line through there. Ended up in the runoff area. And here is Broomfield, right on the back of Becker, so something must have happened to Broomfield to drop back a little bit.
You might just be waiting behind here as Crouch going for the move on Burke just ahead. It's kind of a move that we expected to see, and yeah, Crouch easily making that one up. And I think just in the background as well, Adrianson's having to go past Aaron Powell. Gosh, so that is Dara past Aaron, and Aaron Powell's bad meeting continues. And that car does look a bit sluggish down the straights. Championship leader, remember, is Aaron Powell. He will definitely be leading the championship after this round. And, you know, the points that we were showing earlier on show the drop score. And that really doesn't give justice to how good Aaron's been this season, because his drop score is better than a lot of drivers' best score. He's got like a 95-point drop score. Main drivers have got a 0-point drop score because they've missed one of the meetings. I think the second highest drop score is Danny Lee, who's got 50. So even if Powell has a dreadful meeting, even if he doesn't finish 2 races, he's got that backup score which he can utilise. So he has got a good lead in the championship. He will be leading the championship after this round, but wow, this is the trickiest kind of 10 minutes of his season so far.
Yep, and I think there is a fair amount of damage to the rear of the car. It doesn't look like much, but when the circuit is so dependent on you having a car that will go fast in a straight line, when you get a bit of aero damage and suddenly that straight line speed disappears, even by 5-6 miles per hour, then it does make a big difference. I think that might be what's affecting him a little bit. 15 inverted for race 2, and he's currently sitting in 13th, so he has to... That's probably his main game. His main aim for this race is just to keep in that top 15 spots. 13th will do him just fine, and see if he can make up some points in race number 2 by starting near the front and hopefully not getting any damage from the start, because yeah, right now that's looking pretty dangerous for him. He's got the other pal for Pineapple Grips just behind him in 14th, and then a couple seconds back for 15th, but yeah, there's still 15 minutes left in the race, and that's definitely got to be his main aim at the moment.
Yeah, and it's quite a steep point scoring system we have in this series as well, so those podiums, big rewards for those podiums, so shouldn't be too bad for him as the Corvette, the car of Crouch, runs wide. who narrowly missed out on the race win last time out at Hockenheim in race 2. Unfortunately, underfueled the car. He seemed to have the edge on Emil Vinbe. The two of them were very evenly matched. Who knows, maybe Vinbe did have the pace to overhaul him, but the fuel certainly didn't help the situation for the EVSR driver.
All side by side into the Scari there. As Becker finds himself in this train. And we'll see how the pace advantage, or where the pace advantage lies in terms of straight line speed, because the BMW seem to almost be pulling away despite Becker being in the draft of the Porsche. But it looks like in the draft he's just about close enough, and he's actually very close now at the exit of Parabolica. Might try and make some kind of move into the first chicane, although once again the BMW pulling away.
Yeah, certainly for the first half of the straight he was pulling away. Now there's a bit more of a gain for Becker. He knows that the BMW is just going to cover off the inside, so straight away goes to the outside. That's a Centurion racing car. Is that Gary? Oh no, it's Linden. Apologies, who made a mistake there off the track. With a poor start, as we see a replay of the race start and try to explain some of what happened down into turn 1. It's kind of what we're expecting, honestly.
So we've seen also in the YouTube chat, then we're explaining what happened. So the guy in front of him sleeping at the start apparently, pulls alongside, was alongside from the start-finish line, then expected to be given room, wasn't given as much room as he thought, and was on the brakes about 25 meters too late, he says. And yeah, no excuse for that one. He says he's just gonna hold his hands up. That was 100% his fault. But yeah, nothing he could really do. Touch the grass as well once he was on the brakes, and that's what ended up sending him to the left. But yeah, just a bit of a mistake going side by side, running out of real estate very quickly, and just lost his braking point.
Yeah, and that's so often what we see at Monza and on iRacing in particular. That grass is so slippery, and once you got a wheel line, no chance of controlling the car. We haven't seen this man too much, and just a reminder as well, Nicholas Dalby, highest point scorer at Silverstone, which was the last meeting he was at, and he dominated. We have not seen domination like that all season long. But Laubish at Silverstone was absolutely locked in, was half a second faster than everyone else throughout the evening. And you know, Power was on good form, Newmeyer was in good form. You know, all the regulars were there was nothing wrong with them. They were all at the meeting, but Laubish was dominating. He's not dominating as much tonight. Maybe a bit tricky to do around this Monza circuit, but he's doing plenty enough. Keeps on extending that gap by about 0.2 of a second a lap, and up to 2 seconds now is the difference over Mark Hutchinson. So looking like another race win here for Nicholas Laubish. Of course, getting the job done in race 1 is only half the story in this series. It's more often than not the race 2 which really decides how successful your evening is when it comes to the points. That's where things can go very badly for you when you've got to do a lot of overtakes. But Laubish certainly doing everything he can at the moment, and with 10 minutes to go, there looks like no stopping for the Urano Esports driver, and there's no stopping Jack Tingy at the moment because he's up the inside of Chris Prescott. Prescott running wide, terribly slow through the De La Rocha chicane, and that's Tingy up a place, and I think there might be more bad news for the Team Lizard driver very soon.
A bit loose on the exit there as well, and he's got two drivers behind him, Pedrero and Lee. Of course, Lee missing half of his car at the moment, but still a very quick driver and can cause problems. You can see he's actually losing so much speed down the straights. It's quite sad to watch. Must be very sad to be driving that car at the moment. But up the inside goes Pedrero, and over the curbs, probably damaged his car a little bit there, but just didn't commit to the move. And Prescott gains about a second lead.
How much do you think that front wing front nose damage will be? Oh, as we've got another Team Lizard car in battle at the moment, and this is for second place in the amateur category. Buck past Van der Nesse Van der Nesse is not an easy guy to pass. I was saying this at Hockenheim last time out. How he spends the entire season, Van der Nesse, with drivers constantly behind him. He's always near the front at the start of race 2 and then has all the pros overtaking him. Where he's kind of got that feeling in race 1 right now. But he is very good at defending and not over-aggressive either. But he knows where to position that car. It helps that the BMW takes up half the track. And he is keeping that place behind. But he's run a little bit too wide. I think this will be impossible to defend from here on in. Because Burke just getting the car up the inside and into the second Lesmo. It is very much single file. And Van Ness is going to have to settle for second place there. But it looks, at least to me, Dane, like that BMW is very quick down the straight. So Burke's got to try to break the draft as soon as he can.
Yeah, but now he's giving draft to Adriansons in the Porsche. It's gone all the way around the outside into the Ascari chicane now, side by side. And if there's anyone you want to go side by side with, Van der Ness is probably the person you'd pick on the grid. Oh, gets on the curb and runs wide, almost takes him out as I say that. And that's allowed Powell to get through as well, so good for Powell. But Van der Ness, that's a very uncharacteristic mistake there. Side by side to Ascari, not the easiest place to go side by side, though, it must be said.
Yeah, between a rock and a hard place there. Could either give up the place and lose all his momentum, or he could fight it, as he did. Fortunately, not picking up any damage now. This is Crouch and Becker. Becker's been a bit faster in recent laps. Gained by 0.2 of a second that last tour. And they are both catching up to Sivisabe. Now, this is the move we see a lot around Monza. That first chicane really does invite some fantastic racing, at least when drivers have respect for one another. And that was very much the case there. Becker up to 7th place. But he needs, these guys can't afford to battle much more, otherwise they won't catch up to 6th place by the end.
Yeah, using the draft probably going to be pretty important if they want to catch up to Sivisabe in 6th. But yeah, Crouch dropping back there slightly as well. Bit of damage to the front of his car, not helping him in a straight line at all. You could see how quickly Becker caught him near the end of that pit straight. And Powell and Van der Ness going side by side once again, just sort of swap places briefly on the timing tower as we look at Brown and Adriansons in 3rd and 4th at the moment. Brown running a little bit wide there actually. But two Indy Autosport drivers battling for the final podium position. Only 6 minutes left in the race, so if Adriansons wants that place, there's not too much time left for him to try and take it.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just holding station from here on in. It would be a good result for the two of them. Brown, former race winner in this series, won at Interlagos, race 2 last season. Adriansons, I believe without a race win, but did win the Amateur Championship last season and quite comfortably as well. Was about 100 points clear by the Championship's close. Wow, that is up in the air. Unfortunately, Peugeot hasn't taken anyone else out there, but that is the danger of that curve. I've seen LMP1 cars destroyed over that curve in the past, but that was a proper launching ramp there, and well, that's going to be a lot of splits of damage on the car. Lee just losing a place meanwhile to Engelhardt. Engelhardt, by the way, qualified in the top 10. It was his best qualifying of the season, but right in the heart of everything that kind of happened down into turn 1. And so he's back there in 20th place, and yeah, Lee continuing to have bad news as Hutchinson with a momentary off. And yeah, that was yeah, pretty scary stuff there for Peugeot, who's had to come into the pits after that contact.
So we're going to get a replay of that from Lee's point of view, riding on board with him, with Peugeot just in front, up over the curves, bang, there he goes. And that's probably a definite Code Brown moment with Danny Lee, I would say, having a car do that right in front of you.
Gary losing a lot of time on that last lap. 4 seconds slower than the drivers around him. 5th place out of the amateurs though for David Gary as Pal. Uh-oh, Aaron, what has happened? Now, is that something to do with the Corvette behind of Dean? Oh, sorry, so that was Dean Powell. Apologies, I thought it was Aaron Powell. I'm so used to Dean being an amateur driver I kind of distinguish between the two of them via the stripe. But no, that was Dean losing out, and crucially is going to drop out of the reverse grid places Kittelman, who's had at least one spin and then I think an off as well. Nips on past into 15th position. That is dreadful news there for Dean Powell. He's got just over 3 minutes to take back that 15th.
Yep, top 15 reverse, of course, so probably one of the most sought-after positions is 15th place in this first race. And, well, Gary is now looking to be the driver who's probably most likely to take it off of Kittelman in the BMW as he runs a little bit deep into the first chicane. But I think there's quite a bit of damage to Powell's car and almost none, if any, on Gary's car. So he's looking pretty quick out there comparatively. A second back from Kittelman. We'll see what he can do in the last few minutes.
Chambers not too far ahead of Sivi Sabo at the moment. Actually lost half a second to the Indy Autosport driver on the last lap. Still 2.5 seconds the gap though, so despite the damage on Matt Chambers' car, looks to be alright. Becker catching Sivi Sabo by about 0.3 of a second a lap, the gap down to 1.5 seconds. Again though, I think going to run out of time because we've got 2 more laps to go after this one. But maybe the draft effect for Becker could come in just the nick of time for him to catch by the end of this race. And also looking likely that Burke might be under pressure from Adjinsons. And also, that is Engelhardt coming under pressure from Prescott. Prescott's getting past that Porsche, one of the cleanest cars, at least in this region of the pack.
I feel terrible for Danny Lee at the moment. You can see he's well in the draft, double draft in fact. He's got 2 cars in front of him and still dropping back down the straights. It's absolutely terrible to watch. As we've got 2 drivers going side by side. Well, they were going side by side through Ascari. Simon Crest still leaving space for Beltran, who ended up going off wide. Very wide, in fact, cutting the corner. Probably got a bit of a slowdown there as well. Now side by side into turn 1. Prescott under attack from Engelhardt. And makes that move very nicely indeed. Up into 18th goes the German.
Yeah, just going to be shy of that top 15 place, unfortunately, for Engelhardt, but could be a driver who gains places, I think, in race 2. Unfortunately, going to be again right in the mix when it comes to the lap 1 shenanigans. Lee just having a super frustrating race, over 50 seconds off the lead. I can't help but feel like maybe the fast repair would have been a good thing to go for. Would have lost him probably 25 seconds or so. Yeah, you got to make that decision once you pass a couple of laps. It really does become pointless to pick up the fast repair, as the race leader is on their last lap of the race. 20 seconds left of the clock to go. And this is the battle which has kind of just been brewing for a couple of laps between Burke and Adriansons. A really good race at the moment for Indy Autosports. They're running up in 3rd, 4th and 6th positions. As Kittelman actually just going past Bush there, so that's more good news for that team. But it would be terrific for Darrett if he could pass Steve Burke. They are alongside heading into turn 1. Burke covering off the inside line, but as we saw earlier on, the outside into the first chicane can often be the place to be. Burke driving in deep enough, but Adjinsons should get on the power slightly earlier, and heading into Curva Grande, this battle is far from ending.
Yeah, but Indy Autosport, like you said, doing a pretty good job. Up there, they got 5 out of the top 10 drivers for Indy Autosport, another 3 for Reversar. Those 2 teams making up half the grid, it seems, at the moment in ARL GTs. We've got side by side here. Powell and Chris Van Der He always seems to be battling somebody side by side, does Chris. He's still side by side now, heading through into the Lesmos on the outside line, batting for 11th and 12th. And he has to fall back once again. He just seems to be finding himself on the outside of the Lesmos a bit too often.
This means that he's going to have to defend more in race 2, to be honest, because he's going to be starting well up there. Laubish isn't going to be starting well up there, but he won't mind about that. He'll have confidence heading into race 2 because he has been dominant in this race 1. And from pole position, the Irana eSports drivers takes another race win and cuts down that championship advantage that ARL had, and maybe even moves up into second position himself past Michael Neumeyer after that performance. There's going to be a run to the line here between, apologies, that's a back marker, so the Evo SR car of Crouch, I think that was, or Chambers. Crossing line all right, Siri Saber held on against Becker and Crouch. And yeah, Burke and Adjunson, second and third out of the amateur drivers. Burke holding on to that one. Just on the line there, that was Van der Nesse, I think maybe deliberately letting past Broomfield or running out to fuel. I think it was the former, honestly, right there. So yeah, gains a place on the grid. And yeah, he'll be starting fairly high up for that reverse grid race 2. Of course, hopefully you've enjoyed that race 1. Hopefully you'll keep tuned as well for race 2 of the evening. And of course, make sure to leave a like on this video as well. Subscribe to Apex Racing TV so you can check out all of our other streams, 20 of them or so, every single week in Rallycross, NASCAR, prototype single-seaters, tin top cars, absolutely everything being covered on Apex Racing TV in a variety of time zones. And also do check out our Instagram, Facebook and Twitter pages as well. Just as the final few drivers are crossing line, we are going to have a bit of a look at a trailer for Apex Racing Academy, one of the sponsors for this series, who are offering some great prizes for the drivers. But we'll be back with you in just a moment on Apex Racing TV. That was a bit of a trailer for Apex Racing Academy, one of the sponsors for this championship. Over 29 data packs available from Apex Racing Academy, varying from road racing of really all categories all the way to rallycross racing as well, that you can get setups for. Yeah, in those data packs, setups, track guides, weekly group coaching sessions, and it's also integrated with virtual racing school as well. And part of the prizes for the drivers this season are a variety of subscriptions to Apex Racing Academy. So I believe the Pro and AM Championship winners get a 1-year gold subscription to Apex Racing Academy, which is an absolutely awesome prize. Also prizes for the top teams and the other top drivers, varying from 1 month to 1-year subscriptions with yeah, bronze, silver and gold memberships. We all use it over at Apex Racing TV, so do thoroughly recommend checking out apexracingac.com to get yourself signed up. All the drivers are across the line, so we should be able to bring you the race results then for race 1 of the evening. And it was a terrific finish in the end for Nicholas Laubish from pole position as well to be able to take that race win. Mark Hutchinson was in second position, 5 seconds back in the end, but one of his best performances really in Apex Racing League history, honestly. Then it was Tom Brown beating his teammate Jensen Adjunson. Matty Chambers had a bit of a quiet race in 5th place. Danny Sabo with one of his best Apex Racing League drives as well, actually, from 17th on the grid to move up into 6th. Had to defend hard for it as well. Drew Becker had his setbacks, but still his pace is really very strong tonight, up there in 7th place and top of the amateur drivers. Then it was James Crouch. Steve Burke beat Dar Adjunson for 2nd place out of the amateurs. Aaron Powell, championship leader, recovered to 11th in the end with damage. Stephen Broomfield was in 12th. Then it was Chris Van der Nesse, Kevin Kitzman, and David Gowrie gets that coveted 15th place and reverse grid pole. Behind that was Dean Powell, Christian Engelhardt, Chris Prescott, got Danny Lee, who had damage right from the get-go, David Bush, John Chester, Simon Kress, Miguel Beltran was in 23rd. There was Jack Tingy, Adriana Christoph, Angel Pedrero, Nicholas Matthews, Colin McKenzie, Dominic Linden, James Koulibaly, Tobias Ogrodnik, and Emil Vinbo. Those last two, particularly Ogrodnik, started from second place on the grid, but well, barely got going, had to retire on the first lap of the race, unfortunately. This race 2 of the evening, Dane, I think could go a number of ways. You know, you got Powell fairly close to the front, up there in 5th position for the reverse grid. Do you think he's perhaps the favourite for this one?
I'm not too sure. He didn't have a massive amount of pace in qualifying or race 1. Of course, he did have damage in race 1, so it's not really an accurate representation of how quick he would be without it. But starting at the front, you've always got to back him. He is championship leader. So yeah, it's pretty hard not to put your money on him. But some of the other drivers out there looking very quick indeed. You've obviously got Chris Van Den Este starting up near the front as well. I'm more interested in seeing how the leaders from race 1 do from the middle of race 2. If we have another big incident at the start, we might have a number of the drivers that finished at the top of race 1 taken out of the race completely in the opening couple of laps. So it's going to be an interesting start to the race. I think some of those drivers will be trying to take it extremely cautiously.
Yeah, I think that's very much going to be a thing for the drivers, particularly those high up in the championships, the Pro-Am championships. Yeah, very much worth just getting through those first few corners, and hopefully we don't see what we saw in race 1. Also, thanks to Wave Italy, by the way, who are the title sponsors for this season of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. And they are offering some super prizes for the top runners in the professional and the amateur driver championships. Wave Italy provides some of the most comprehensive driver simulator coaching in the world, and also design their own wheels and pedals to recreate the real-life driving experience. And by visiting waveitaly.com, you can have a look at their fantastic driver training base in Verona and gain some insight into the process of designing their peripherals. Wave Italy are providing this season's Pro Driver Champion with a choice of the Wave Impetus Imola or Wave Impetus Monza sim pedals in a colour of their choice, whilst the Amateur Driver Champion gets an amazing prize, a half day of coaching at the Wave Italy Professional Training Centre in Verona, Italy. Viewers can also get a 5% discount on Wave Italy products by visiting waveitaly.com and using the code APEXRACING5 at checkout. That's with a capital A. So if you want to feel like a real life driver whilst being on the sim, Wave Italy is certainly the place to go, because that's their aim. They want to make you feel exactly like you're driving the car. As the drivers just gridding up at the moment, it's Gary on pole, Kitsman in second position on the grid. Then it's Van Den Este, Broomfield, Powell and Adjinsons, a mixture of amateurs and pros right at the front there. Then it's Burke, Crouch, Becker and Sivi Sabo rounding out the top 10. Matt Chambers and Jensen Adjinsons round out the top 12 on the grid, which is kind of the area where we saw the problems happen in race 1. Brown, Hutchinson and Laubich complete the reverse, and then after that it is all the same way as the race 1 order finished. Now, Dane, I mean, I did kind of hint at it before. I was giving you the opportunity at predicting the driver winner, because I'm sure you saw last time out, our co-commentator Andy Thompson absolutely nailed it. He managed to call Emil Vinbo to win the race. So I'm going to give you this opportunity here to get 1-1 with him, but it's going to have to be quite a bold call, because Vinbo had never won a race before. So, I mean, who are you going to go for? Who are you going to give some luck to?
I think Kittleman's got a good chance, but I'm going to say... I'm going to say probably Powell. I think I have to. He's leading the championship. He's been on form the entire season. Despite not having the best pace, I'm going to say Powell. And usually when I predict who wins a race, I get it totally wrong. So I'm very sorry. I don't think he's going to get it anymore.
Well, if Andy's listening along, I know he does sometimes, lets us know what he thinks because he called it perfect last time. David Gary will be hoping that he can win this race. The pace car just coming in, and Gary goes very early left a gap, but it's going to leave him vulnerable heading down into turn 1 because Kitzelman is right in the draft as the 40 minutes of action get going here at Monza for race 2 of the evening. Seems as though Gary's got this one covered. Van der Nesse trying to gain places as well. The Indy Autosport car goes into the back of him though, and they might both miss the chicane. This is going to open up the opportunity for Van der Nesse to lead the race. Kitzelman really messing that one up. It crosses the tarmac area there, the old circuit, and yeah, we'll drop way down with that heavy slowdown on the opening lap of the race. Good start for Darragh Adjinsons as well to move up 3 positions. Kitzelman, of course, yeah, down those 4, and Danny Lee getting caught up in another instant, and if he managed to avoid a fast repair in race 1, he's definitely going to need to take a fast repair now.
Oh, and that's Nicholas Laubich all over the curbs there. Those are huge curbs and probably has a bit of damage as well. Yeah, you can see it at the front of his car has quite a bit of damage. Gary, I think, is pretty much out of the race. I think he's definitely going to need a fast repair. He slammed into the wall on the left-hand side of the circuit. Kitzelman as well. Yeah, he's got probably a bit of damage too. It looks like he's struggling a bit to keep that car going in a straight line. This has worked out fantastically for Van der Nesse, though. He's all the way up into first and got a bit of a gap to Brumfield as well. If he can try and extend that, that would be fantastic for him. But I think he's still just about within drafting range of Brumfield side by side there. Dean Powell getting overtaken, I believe, by Engelhardt, and he makes his way up into 15th. But all sorts of action at the start, and a cleaner start to the race, despite a few incidents here and there. I think it's safe to say a much cleaner start than what we saw in race 1.
There was some bullying on the YouTube chat in race 1 about me talking about the splitter damage. Well, I assure you, Nicholas Laubich has got splitter damage. I think that will be costing him. Maybe some other damage, and I know that maybe the engine broke in race 1 as well. But don't forget the splitter. It's a very important part of the car. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Dane. Not as much carnage this time. Crutch trying to take advantage, and that's a move on Becker. And of course, these two were battling with each other for the entire race 1, and are 2 of the favourites for this race 2 because they were so quick, despite having a poor race start. So really watch out for them. But they need to work together instead of fighting like they have done for the entire evening. There goes Becker up the inside, and this is very risky heading into De La Rogia because the outside line works very well, and it's so narrow, and they are just costing each other so much time right now, losing track of the cars ahead. And I really don't think this one is worth fighting as Burke and Co sprint off in the distance. Jensen Adjinson sees an opportunity at getting a place himself.
Yep, he'll sneak up along the inside of Becker now and easily take that position. Look at the speed he's able to carry compared to Crouch as well. He'll be given the outside line. No, he won't. He gets blocked and has really nowhere to go. If he moves over to the left now, he's just going to turn the car in front of him and actually lets Becker go through as well. Is there an issue with Adrianson's actually, because he's just dropped back a large amount? Really should have been able to carry it in front of Becker at that point, but yeah, interesting through there. Powell's just got ahead of Adrianson and Brumfield on this second lap of the race. So what's happened there to Brumfield and Adjinson? Those two battling each other away behind him, but Powell's managed to leapfrog to both of them.
Yeah, and he's very fortunate that those two are going to be battling one another rather than kind of setting their sights back on him. Of course, we did see Kitzelman outbreak himself into this turn 1 earlier on. Unfortunately, this Indy Autosports driver of Darragh Adjinsons doesn't make the same mistake, and Burke perhaps putting his nose in where it shouldn't have been there, but unfortunately didn't quarter panel the other driver, Vinbo. Well, getting flashbacks to race 1 right there, heading on the inside with several cars alongside him there, but much better in this circumstance. This is the battle for 17th place, but some high quality drivers in this fight. Vinbo actually started from 32nd on the grid, retired pretty much on the spot, didn't take his fast repair, so had a lot of work to do on the start, but he's up nearly half the order as Adjinsons has had a problem. Fortunately, doesn't rejoin. That's Jensen Adjinsons, who was doing very well up in the top 10.
Yeah, it must have been a bit worrisome for the drivers going through the chicane. Then all of a sudden, oh, there's a driver there. Definitely hoping that they didn't rejoin. And did a good job not to rejoin straight into the back of cars, as we see Vinbo making that move on Tressider, I believe it was, getting up into 17th. He started dead last, remember. He was the first driver to retire from race number 1. So a good start to the race for him. He'll set his eyes forward on Dean Powell, who is just in front of him there, trying to catch up to Jack Tingley.
So this is what happened to Jensen Adjensons, and this was probably with a bit of help actually from one of the other drivers. So he's sitting behind, of course, this epic battle between Becker and Kite, and then there's the contact on the EVSR cut. Now, that wouldn't have been Crouch, it was Chambers, I believe. He kind of went for that fairly over-ambitious move there, and spun him round and lost out some time himself.
Yep, and now we've got a bit of a battle once again into turn 1. So one good thing about Monza is that a lot of overtaking done around this circuit. Lovely hard braking zones from top speed, and we're seeing more of that now as they are side by side, just about heading into the second chicane. Are we going to see a lunge up the inside from anybody? No, we're not. They behaved themselves this time by, as Matthews, I think, ran a little bit wide, and wide on the exit there as well, as someone in the background takes an enormous amount of curb. I think that was Adjensons.
Oh, and has Tingy just had an issue ahead? Oh, well, Vinbo's off the circuit now, so these guys might quickly rush past. Vinbo seems to be alright, I think, just maybe picking up some gravel in the bodywork. Coming out of the second Lesmo, we'll pick up an incident, and you said earlier on, of course, Dane, how you need to watch out for those incidents come this race too. I think just a solo moment there for Vinbo, losing the car on that occasion. So it's kind of all lined up fairly nice. It's Van der Nesse at the top at the moment, Powell in second place, Darragh Adjensons in third, Steve Burke in fourth, and Stephen Broomfield in fifth. Not too many moves being made between these drivers, but you can see they're all in a bit of a train, so maybe if one kind of drops out of the draft, another might be vulnerable. And I mean, that's pretty much the amateur order, honestly. Usually I go overall and then amateur, but we've got so many amateurs doing well. It's Van der Nesse, Adjensons, Burke, Becker and Engelhardt in the top 5 in the amateur category. And, well, I say Becker is looking very strong there in 7th place, from my perspective at least, the fastest of them. But this is, this could be a race win here for Chris Van der Nesse. I mean, Powell is not making much of an impression right now, Dane. Laubish you can just see in the background there, but he's got a lot of cars to deal with. And to be fair to Van der Nesse, you know, we sometimes, you know, he's become a bit of a Jarno Trulli of the series, but he is consistent. He doesn't make mistakes, and at the moment, the pace he's delivering, if he can keep up this, it could be a first-time race win.
Just about to say the same thing. I think at this point, a mistake from Chris was put him right back into the path of Powell, and then you've got the draft, and it becomes quite difficult to defend. We've seen him try and do a pretty good job at defending in race 1, but it's not particularly easy here at Monza to defend with the draft. So if he makes a mistake, then it could allow Powell to get through. But like you said, he doesn't make mistakes particularly often. So he's got 32 minutes or 31 minutes now to stay in front. He is dropping back ever so slightly to Powell. Powell obviously very quick driver, so it is going to be interesting. Weaving down the straight, you can see the drivers all over the place trying to get what little draft they can, but I think Powell might have him within a few laps at this rate. He's pretty much within draft range now, where the draft will become quite effective, and I think once that happens, it's only really a matter of time.
And this is the top 2 from race 1, battling against one another. So Hutchinson kind of got the jump on Laubish in the early stages, and we know that Laubish will have some damage. And maybe just seeing that there, that may have been a lift-off, to be fair, from the Porsche driver. But yeah, Laubish was kind of holding on to something in race 1. He's got to show it now, because overtaking is going to be tricky for him. And not just overtaking, but also defending after he makes an overtake. But that one's been made fairly easy for him, because Hutchinson missing the apex, heading into the De La Rozier chicane there, and awful exit as well. And so Laubich up to 8th place, only 5.5 seconds off the lead with half second. And I mean, honestly, normally I'd back Laubich to win the race from this position, but with that damage, it does make things a lot more complicated.
Yeah, if it was probably any other circuit, the damage wouldn't be as much of a big deal, but as we saw in race 1, the tiniest bit of damage is going to play a huge role in how competitive your car is going to be. It's all well and good being the fastest driver on the field. If your car isn't going to be the quickest car, then it's quite difficult to do too much. And it looks like he's actually being overtaken by Hutchinson in the Ford. So, yeah, down to 90 goes. If he can not hold on to the move. No, he hasn't. Hutchinson's got past. So, great for Hutchinson, but Laubich dropping back, and that's another half a second off the lead. He's just lost now.
And he was actually a second faster on the previous lap than Van der Nesse. So I think if it was clean air, he could catch up. But I mean, it's going to be horrendous for him. You know, overtaking a driver into one corner and then straight away just getting past you in the next. This is why we talk about the importance of running so little drag. So you've got that raceability, and he's got none of it out there. As that was Kitzelman passing Engelhardt, and Sivi Sabo, who had a terrific race 1 actually, did Sivi Sabo. Finishing up in 6th position, down 2 places from his start though, but he has got a clean car, does that C8 at least. And Mackenzie picking up the draft from Adriano up the road, and this is allowing him past Koulibaly, and Mackenzie from Lunatic Racing up to 21st there.
Yeah, look at the gap right at the front between Powell and Van der Nesse. That's a lot smaller than it was a few laps ago. Half a second now is the gap between them. Less than half a second is the gap between Adrianson and Burke. It's only 0.2 of a second. Is Burke going to try and make a move into his car? No, he's not. He's going to settle for 4th for the time being, but try and get a good exit and maybe make something happen into Parabolica or the first corner. No, he's not. He's going to end up almost in the wall, making full use of the junior circuit re-entry. But yeah, massive hit to the curb there, similar to what we saw with Pedraza earlier. And yeah, he's found himself very close to hitting the wall. Adrianson can breathe for a minute. He's got a nice 8/10 gap now behind him, and he can cast his eyes back in front, where Powell is just 0.2 of a second behind the race leader.
Yeah, Van der Nesse is trying to break the jar, but there's no breaking Powell's spirit. That's Jeff for commentary. As down the inside goes Powell. He's got the advantage now. And Van der Nesse, no defense there. Wasn't quite able to kind of get that BMW tight through the first chicane there, Van der Nesse, so he hasn't got a very good drive, but we know he is quick down the straights, and this is where he needs to try to respond straight away if he possibly can. But I think he's got too much time to gain back there. Engelhardt's got back past Kittelman, by the way, and Sivi Sabe has also been able to overtake. As we remember, starting from 2nd place on the grid, but had a problem at turn 1. Powell holding on to the lead then, and this is now where Adjinston's, Burke, and maybe Crouch and Becker as well needs to all try to get past Van der Nesse, because he could be a bit of a roadblock now if as Powell pulls away.
Yep, he's got, I would say, a nice gap on most other circuits, 0.6 of a second, not the smallest gap in the world, but at Monza, that is the same gap that we saw him behind Van der Nesse on the last time by, so it's definitely not too far out of reach for Van der Nesse to catch back up to him now on this lap and be able to make some kind of move into turn 1 on the next one, but he does have to look behind him a lot more than Powell did on that last time by, because 0.2 of a second back. There he is. It is Adjinson's in 3rd. He's run a bit deep there, has Chris, and that's going to allow Adjinson's up the inside and up into 2nd place.
But now, if anything, that maybe will help him to keep 2nd position, because now there's no momentum, nice draft for Adjinson, and Van der Nesse just pulls back ahead. But this could be ideal for Burke if he can just, you know, scythe his way through. That was never really the gap though, boxed in against his rivals. and is going to be able to get past Adrianson's here though if he is wise about it, and just pulls in ahead as well. Flashing the lights goes Dara, but honestly I think Burke was fairly well mannered there, both leaving each other space. And now Crouch and Becker have caught up to these Giants, and these have got a great chance at the race win, because I think honestly these two are the fastest out of the top 6. As wide goes Burke, trying to get back the position is Adrianson's, and more amazing racing between those two drivers. Again, so respectful against a couple of really tight corners, and it's Adrianson's back to 3rd place, but they've lost in that battle about a second and a half.
Yep,
And off the circuit.
Oh, yeah. Getting a bit of dirt and gravel into the intakes there, but yeah, 1.5 seconds back now as Adrianson's from Van den Esse as well, so that's starting to get out of drafting range, and he's also got to worry about the drivers around him all battling, so he's not going to be his quickest, and that is fantastic news for the top 2, because they can work together, try and extend that gap as much as possible, just like Crouch and Becker have been doing, to get up into this fight for the final podium position. Interestingly, Laubish and Hutchinson have been working together as well, 7th and 8th, and they're already up very close to this battle as well, only about a second and a bit behind Becker. So we could end up having an 8-car battle for the lead within a few laps or so.
That's what we're hoping for. As on a very different part of tarmac, Jensen Adrianson's trying to recover what he can from this race after a 4th place in race 1. And by the way, thanks to Andy Thompson for saying he can't give any of his trade secrets away, but he's also going for Aaron Power, which unfortunately is a bit of a dull prediction from him. But well, we'll see if it works out. Otherwise, you two are very much going to have pie in your face. Adrianson's passed there into 18th place. That's always going to happen eventually. Matthews drops back quite far. Crouch has been able to get past 2 cars there. He's been able to get past Adrianson's and Burke. That's a huge move there for James Crouch, who's got the pace to win this race. 3.5 seconds now to the leaders. Unfortunately, I missed that one, but wow, that was a good start to this lap.
Yep, and with 3 seconds really to the POW, and well, 23 minutes to go, he basically only has to gain 0.2 seconds a lap, and he'll be right up next to him before the end of the race. So not a lot of time he needs to catch up. We've still got a long time left in this race, and he clearly has got the pace, so yeah, you might be right there. Crouch looking very quick indeed. There goes Becker up the inside of Burke, and looks like the inside line looks pretty good, and it works fantastically well until you end up in a situation where the driver alongside you then has a draft. In this case, Becker has a draft from Adrianson's in front of him, and he's managed to pull ahead completely of Burke.
Yeah, and well, the floodgates are opening now for Steve Burke. Nothing he can do about it. But he's trying to hold on, and he has held on spectacularly well there. And Burke's a very respectful driver. And despite kind of getting beats about at the moment, he is still driving respectfully, and left space for Hutchinson there. And we know that he's just as quick as you know, Van den Esse and some of the others, Adrianson's. So as long as he can kind of stop that free falling, he might be able to hold his station. Brown has just got past Matthews now, so another Indy Autosports driver who's out of position in the form of Tom Brown. Finished 3rd position in race 1, but he has been able to get past that. 33 seconds off the lead, but you can see how close the top 8 are, within 5 seconds of one another. And yeah, 3rd down to 8, separated by about 2 seconds. Absolutely crazy, and really all the battles going on out in the top 11 at the moment. Englehart's fairly close to Kittelman. I think Kittelman might be going for this move here. Starts on the front row of the grid and just about gets his car ahead. As Becker's got past Adrianson's, and that is for 2nd position in the amateur category. And what's that flash of the lights? Basically, Adrianson's waving Becker on by there, Dave?
I'd say so. Definitely, most likely. He's got the pace and probably just said, all right, I'll just tow you on. And looking just a bit ahead, you've got Crouch right on the back of Van der Neste heading into turn 1. It's not looking very good for Powell at the moment because he's not able to extend that gap at all.
Oh no!
Oh,
Contact
dear.
with Adjinson's behind. That is gutting for Dar Adjinson's championship leader in the amateur category. And, well, fortunately, he hasn't had to tow back to the pit, so he's got some polystyrene now, probably wedged between his legs right now. That is, I don't know if you see that, Dane, but he's going along a polystyrene board as, oh, Crouch just gets past Van der Neste. Another big move there from Crouch. He has wasted no time with the overtakes tonight, and he's up to second place and now is 3.2 seconds behind his teammate.
Yeah, he's absolutely storming through the field at the moment. We're going to get a replay of what happened at turn 1 here. So that actually in the Porsche. Oh, and it's Burke that actually turns him around there. I think there's further contact and a completely separate incident. He ends up going on, and then, oh yeah, there was a bit of contact there. He goes through the cones. He doesn't care for going through the cone and polystyrene board chicane off the circuit. To slow down is the same no matter what you do through there. And it's a nasty one, but yeah, he ended up with a nice, massive polystyrene board wedged in his wheels there that you could see for once. Something like that you could see on the broadcaster's machine and on both commentators' machines as well. Normally you end up with a cone stuck out of a car and only one person can see it, but we could all see it there.
Yes, it was well and truly wedged as, well, we could see Hutchinson wedged between these two cars. It's 3 wide, heading into turn 1. Hutchinson just about able to take the normal racing line, and it's been an excellent lap actually for Hutchinson, and he's passed Van der Neste. Laubich, so quick. I mean, the way he maneuvers that Porsche is really unlike any other driver. Just the change of direction makes it look so easy, and that's down to driver skill, not just the car. But you can't do anything about that BMW grunt, and with the lack of drag that BMW has, they'll be still trying to go around the outside. This is very risky for him, but he pulls it off. That is exceptional racecraft there from the Urana eSports driver. He's up to 4th position. So poor lap for Becker there, who was kind of next in line to pass Van der Neste, but couldn't get it done, and then because he was stuck, he was overtaken by a couple of drivers, and Van der Neste, who I thought might be able to win the race, it hasn't quite worked out for him. He's got good pace in the BMW, but all of a sudden, Becker gets past, and I think Steve Burke is also trying to get that move done into Ascari.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the track temperature, 41 degrees Celsius, which is extremely hot there. And not the best track surface in the world at Monza, so the driver's probably struggling a bit for grip as well, especially running zero wing as someone's gone off right in the background. I think that was Dean Powell, all the way in 15th position, all the way in the background of that shot, running extremely wide out of Ascari. But managing to keep it out of the ball. Vinbo up into 13th, starting from last, and he is ahead of Chambers, who's also got quite a bit of damage to the front of his car, so not ideal for him. We saw how much even a little bit of damage will do to your straight line speed. And yeah, it's not great for him. Probably won't be able to get back in front of the Corvette in front of him. Interestingly, Sam, Crouch is not catching Powell.
Yeah, he's he lost a 10th and a half, didn't he, on that
He's
last
actually
lap?
losing time.
Yeah.
Powell's
Now
found
this-
a 6th gear.
Perhaps that last lap, well, last lap 7/10 slower than his best lap, but track getting warmer as the cars pound around here, and also as the time of day progresses as well. And of course the tyres degrading as well, so maybe not a big surprise that Powell isn't slower than he was earlier on, but yeah, Crouch looked so strong before, but getting a bit stuck. But at the same time, either SR 1, 2, 3 at the moment. If anyone's going to win, they want Powell to win. He's fighting for the championship at Crouch and Hutchinson with very small chances of really even a top 3 in the championship. So maybe they're kind of lining up for that formation finish as Van der Nesse makes contact with Steve Burke there. So Burke very close to passing him. Those two have been within a second of one another for the entire race, and Burke, from fighting with that second place pack, all of a sudden you can barely see them up the road despite the long straights we have here at Monza. Engelhardt trying to make it 3 wide in the background there, but Burke shunted down and now just trying to fight for a top 10. And into the pits, Burke, and that must be incidents. Yeah, it is, 16.
Oh, they're banging doors. They're heading into turn 1. Both of them just missing. Oh, 3 drivers missing the corner. That was really weird there, watching the drivers go through the first chicane there. Brimfield's going to take the both of them. Kittelman and Engelhardt. What happened there? That was really weird. And once again, I see a driver with the bit of polystyrene board stuck inside their car.
Ah, yes, that would have been Kisselman, who went across the chicane and yeah, picking up some polystyrene for his troubles. I think he's got rid of it now. Usually you don't hold on to it for too long, but if you do, whilst you do have it, absolutely kills your straight line speed. I mean, especially in the single seaters, if you get a cone stuck in your front wing, that can stay for the entire stint. So we'll see a replay of, I think, that instant down at turn 1, and kind of one driver outbreaks another, maybe a bit of contact as well. And yeah, they all kind of mess it up. So it was Engelhardt in the Ferrari who skipped across. I think it was Kittelman, though, kind of the one who triggered it.
Yeah, just a really weird incident there. Drivers trying to outbrake each other and just who's going to back up first? None of them did. They all just went straight on. So a bit of an odd one there. As Kittelman into the pits. Is that polystyrene board stuck there, not coming off and causing some issues in terms of straight line speed? That's actually, I've seen that happen in the real world. As oh dear, someone's gone right off the circuit. I think that's Sivisaba. Yep. But I was watching a Porsche Super Cup race when I was at Silverstone in 2015. One of the drivers in the Porsche Cup car slammed into one of the braking boards, which had a Rolex logo on the back of it, and when he came past us, there was just this massive polystyrene board blocking the entire radiator of his Porsche right at the front of the car, completely blocking it, and some of the windshield as well. He had to end up coming back into the pits to get it peeled off by his pit crew. So it does happen in the real world. I've seen it happen, but I didn't think it would happen in the sim, as Finbo's moved up into 9th place.
Well, I believe that pit lane for Kisselman was due to the incidents. So a bit like Burke, he's fallen victim to the 16x instant limit, and yeah, has had to pick up a drive-through penalty. Drivers really do struggle with that in this series. We saw it was like a pandemic at Red Bull Ring, with half the order having to make a pit stop. It's not been an issue really in the GT Trophy Championship we have in the GT3 cars. Those races 50% longer, but no reverse grid crucially, so you're much more likely to avoid any contact. But yeah, problems for the drivers out there. This Parabolica is one of them. You might see occasionally on our overlay highlights red, and that doesn't necessarily mean they picked up an incident, but it means that they're all 4 wheels off the track. So if you ever see that, that's kind of the reason why, and that often happens coming out of the second Lesmo in particular. As Sivisaba is, well, he cut the chicane on the previous lap. This time I think he's going to get the move done clean. He's up to 6th place, and this is one of Sivisaba's best meetings of the season. I think Van Nesse may have taken too much curb there, and he picks up a slowdown himself. Certainly did lose a couple of car lengths. This race has been absolutely terrific to watch, and hopefully all you viewers are enjoying it yourselves. do make sure to leave a like on the video if you are enjoying it, and subscribe to Apex Racing TV, because then you're that much more likely to be able to catch the remaining 5 rounds of this championship. Next up, we head to Road America, and we're also visiting Suzuka, Sebring, Daytona, Zandvoort, some absolute classic venues we are yet to visit this season. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out all of our other streams as well. We've got a couple on tonight actually, which you can have a look at. IGP Fun, I believe, may have happened already actually, but plenty happening on Sunday evenings. And we've also got the Formula V Championship starting, or round 2 of that, on tomorrow. Vimbo sliding their car through. That's awesome to see. There's going again, sliding on entry and sliding on exit, but he's up to 8th place, and this is actually a very good drive from Emil Vimbo after starting down in 32nd place.
Yep, fantastic recovery drive from him, and looks like Adrianson's trying to get past Brumfield. He's managed to get the switch back perfectly there, and already ahead before they even get past the pit entry. So fantastic move from him. Is he going to be able to hold it down the straight? There is the question as they make their way down to turn 1.
Sucking Harry. Oh, got it stopped. When a car is moving around on the bricks like that's not usually good signs. Laubich then up into 3rd place. Now, apologies, we may have missed that. I'm not quite sure, but he did get past Hutchinson. Now Hutchinson's going to be overtaken by Becker as well, and Becker just with the overspeed. Look at that, he gets past, and Hutchinson, who finished 2nd place, remember, in race 1. Gets overtaken by Drew Becker, who has really established himself as the fastest amateur in the series. Unfortunately, he has to miss many of the rounds, so he's only done, I think this is his 4th meeting of the season out of 6, so he's missed 2 already, and even with the 1 job score, that's not going to be enough. And of course, you also have, you may well miss further rounds in the championship, but he is doing phenomenally well, up there in 4th position overall. Matthews with another car behind him. That's now Gowrie. But yeah, Powell 3.3 seconds ahead. Still that gap to Crouch maintaining. But Laubich set free now. 8.5 minutes to go. And he does certainly have pace on these guys. I think about half a second a lap. So I don't think he'll catch up to Powell, but it'll be very close for 2nd position.
Yep, that is, he's definitely catching him. We'll see what the gap is on the last lap when it updates about now. Gained half a second. And looks like Powell's got a bit wide there as well. Yes, that's not going to help his cause, but he does have his rear gunner of Crouch just behind him, so I'm sure we'll do everything he can to keep Laubich behind him. Of course, he wants to keep that 2nd place, so he does have a bit of a safety net with 7.5 minutes left in the race, but it's looking like it might be a pretty close finish here by the end of this 2nd race at Monza.
Yeah, and Crouch, just hope he's got enough fuel in the car. I mean, to be fair, I'm going to bring that up every race from here on in race 2s. But of course, he lost a potential race win. May have only finished 2nd place anyway. But certainly lost a podium last time at Hockenheim when he underfueled the car. I am sure he'll be probably 10 litres to spare around this circuit, just so that he doesn't make the same mistake. Once again, thanks to Wave Italy, the title sponsor for this championship, for supporting the series and offering some great prizes to the top drivers in the championships. Wave Italy providing some of the most comprehensive driver simulator coaching in the world, along with designing their own peripherals to recreate the real-life driving experience. And by visiting waveitaly.com, you can see some fantastic videos at their driving base in Verona, Italy. As we see Vinbo batting a lot. This is with the Indy Autosports driver just ahead, and also Broomfield for Centurion Racing. But Wave Italy providing the winner of the Pro Championship with the choice of a Wave Impetus Imola or Wave Impetus Monza Sim pedals in a colour of their choice, and the amateur driver champion gets a half day of coaching at the Verona training base in Italy. So massive thanks to Wave Italy for their support.
We're getting pushed out wide a little bit by, I believe that's Van der Nesse there, which is why he's fallen back behind Adriansons and about a second behind Chris there, and he's lucky to not get a slowdown really from that. He was all over the grass on the inside, but yeah, just forced a little bit wide there, giving it a bit of a tap halfway through Ascari and sent the car almost all the way around. He did actually a pretty good job of keeping hold of the car.
Yeah, 7th place still possible for him here. Van der Nesse, a bit like race 1 actually, looking fairly strong in the first half of the race and then falling away a bit in the second half of the race. And he's trying to break the draft as he always does. This is very possible for Van der Nesse to hold on to all these positions. I mean, he'll fancy his chances against every single one of these drivers. If he can just hold them up enough, then they will start battling with one another. You can absolutely guarantee that. I mean, Vimbo's not just going to wait behind Adjinsons all race. And in fact, this might well be what happens here. So Vimbo going up the inside. Van der Nesse's got the choice of who he gives the draft to. He's choosing to give it to the car's competition car, but then gives it to Adjinsons just to make the battle nice and close. He wants them to be alongside heading into the Parabolica, but it's actually a bit one-sided for Vimbo as Becker comes into the pits and he has reached the incident limit, and well, he's another one of the top 10 drivers. He picks up a drive lead. That's now 3.
Yep, but there's another driver coming out of the pits as well, which could make this very, very interesting indeed. Does a pretty good job of getting out of the way as Vimbo tries to get the inside of Van der Nesse, almost pushing him around the second part of the corner there. Very, very close indeed. As we head into the final few laps of the race now, 4 minutes to go. Laubish almost caught up to Crouch as well, by the way. He's only 6/10 behind, so that could be very close by the end of it, as they're side by side now ahead. Becker apparently making a pit stop as they're still side by side. Vimbo takes a huge amount of curb, and Adjins is going to try and get around the outside, but as we know, that doesn't work. Unfortunately, he's been pushed out there by Brimfield. He says, "Thank you very much, I'll send it up the inside."
So just checking that, yeah, so sorry, Christian Engelhardt did get a penalty, but yeah, Drew Becker, I don't think reaching the instant limit. So yeah, problems of another kind for him. Promotes all these guys up one place as Vimbo thinking about the move into this guy. It's compromised his run, and that's just allowed Van der Nesse to scamper away slightly. Just got 3 more minutes of this race to go, and look how a couple of the other drivers as well. I think that's Brown and Adjinsons. Apologies, no, I was being very thick there. That was Chambers and Powell, I believe, catching up to these guys at the back of the train, and yeah, trying their absolute best to get back in play, as Crouch has been caught by Laubish. Powell is safe here, even with the talents of Nicholas Laubish. He's not going to catch him by the end of the race, but this could be the move for second place and a few crucial points as well for the Urano eSports driver. He's making the Corvette go the longer way round, but we know that Porsche isn't the fastest car down the straight and that he has got damage, so it gives Crouch the opportunity to defend. But there's no stopping Laubish, who does run a little bit deep. Opportunity again for the 173. He'll get the Porsche offline, but Laubish is so quick round every single one of the corners here at Monza. He should be able to pull away slightly and consolidate that second place with a lap and a half to go.
Yep, both of them running a little bit wide there, but it is going to be a white flag lap, I believe. Next time by for Powell, and I don't know about you, I don't see Laubish catching him. A 3-second gap in a single lap. So yeah, I think Powell just about has this one in the bag at the moment, as there is a massive gaggle of cars through here. I think Vimbo was off the circuit for a while, has been passed by Brimfield now, and is about to get passed by Adjinsons up the inside into a Ascari possibly. No, he backs out of it, but yeah, these guys having a fantastic last few minutes of the race battling.
I don't think we saw what happened to Vinve, but Vinve dropped behind Broomfield. And Van der Nesse, like I was saying before, you just got to hold on, hope that they battle with one another, and then you can get an easy position, and that's exactly what has happened. Vinve definitely faster by a few tenths a lap, but really having to battle hard. Apparently there was 3 wide heading into turn 1, which may explain why Vinbo dropped down. But Vinbo is clear now, and he's left Broomfield to fend for himself against Adjunson, who's got the overspeed. Vinbo giving the draft to the Indy Autosports driver. The Centurion car just nipping in the draft, trying to go round the outside. That's not going to happen, is it? Yes, it is. Brilliant driving there from Broomfield. He has had good racecraft in this race, and yeah, the car easily pulling away, and it's just this quartet now to battle for the top 10 places.
Oh, and here comes Chambers now. He's going to try and have a look around the outside of the chicane. Maybe he does. He sends it all the way around the outside, and he just about cannot make it stick on Adrian Sins. And there goes Dean Powell up the inside, 3 wide into the Lesmos.
Oh, he had that one, Powell. He had that one. He was going to be the one who won out of it, even if they did make contact. Inside driver always has the advantage, but maybe he did the smart thing at backing out of it. He's got his teammate just behind him. It's all going on as well with Drew Becker, who was running up in the top 10, top 5 even earlier on. Lots of passing. He's trying to make up as many places as he can right at the close. That's going past Jack Tingy right there, but out in the lead. The checker flag is going to come out in the nick of time because Aaron Powell, he had a miserable qualifying, a miserable race 1, but he's been able to recover brilliantly as he has done all season long to take the race 2 victory and extend his championship lead. Wasn't the quintessential Aaron Powell that we saw at Moss Sports and at Watkins Glen there, but well, it was a gutsy drive and a crucial race win for him. He beats Laubich and Crouch. Vinbo has passed Van der Nesse right at the end. Van der Nesse had such a gap, but he lost it all right at the end. Can Powell pass Broomfield? No, he cannot, but Chambers had an awful final lap. He was off the circuit, and I'm sure we'll get a replay of what happened to him in just a moment. Bush beats out Adjunsons, and Brown beating the pair of them right there. But man, that was a really good race day. And that's what we want to see from the reverse grid racing, because we had a train of cars there at one point where you had the slow guys at the front, the fast guys at the back, and the fast guys just had to, you know, pick them off one by one, and well, it created some great racing.
Yeah, that's what we have the reverse grid for. That's why it exists, is so that we can get racing like that. They did not disappoint. And yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic race. And the trend of the co-commentator calling who's going to win race 2 has continued. And I will also have you know, Sam, that at the beginning of the race, I'm not sure if you saw in the YouTube chat, and Andy Thompson was in the YouTube chat, and he did also predict that Powell would take the win. So we were both right.
Yeah. Man, you guys making me look bad, honestly. Maybe it'll be my job to call who's going to win next time out. But no, some spectacular calls, and well, Powell was the percentage chance. Maybe he was the favourite, but wow, it was far from easy, and there were so many competitive drivers who gave him a hard time out on circuits. So we should be able to go through the race results, because I believe all the drivers are across the line to finish this race 2 of the evening. And well, I believe for maybe the 4th time this season, Powell manages to take a race win. I think all the others may have been in race 1s as well. Certainly Moss Sport, he won. Maybe Imola, I believe he managed to take the victory out, and Watkins Glen as well in the Enduro. Hasn't necessarily been great in the reverse grid races, has Powell, but well, that was a fantastic drive for him in just over 40 minutes of racing. Nicholas Laubich, definitely the fastest, and who knows, if he didn't have that split to damage, maybe that was what cost him that 2.2 seconds to catch up to the race leader and deny him another double, which he has got his fair share of over the past season and a half in this championship. James Crouch drove very well to 3rd place, just 4 seconds off the lead. There was Mark Hutchinson, a 2nd and a 4th tonight for Hutchinson. I think his highest point score ever in an Apex Racing League GT event. Sivi Sabo was epic tonight. He had to make a lot of moves as well in that 2nd race after a poor start. He ended up in 5th place. Emil Binbo somehow managed to finish in 6th position, gaining a couple of places right at the close. He was up 26 places. Chris Van Den Esse was right in the wars, as he always is, in 7th place. There's Darragh Adjinson, Stephen Broomfield, and Dean Powell rounding out the top 10. Behind that was Matthew Chambers, who had a poor final lap. Tom Brown, who had a great comeback through the order. David Bush was in 13th place. There was Jensen Adjinsons, Steve Burke, Colin McKenzie, Drew Becker, Jack Tingy, Angel Pedrero, Nicholas Matthews, Chris Prescott. David Gowrie was in 22nd place after starting from pole position. That feels like a long time ago. Simon Cress was very under the radar in 23rd. Then it was James Koulibaly. Danny Lee did finish the race as he always does, but one lap down, and his championship hopes taking a bit of a hit right there. Dominic Linden was in 26th. Then it was Adriano Christoph, Christian Engelhardt, Kevin Kitzman, John Tressida, and Miguel Beltran. Tobias Ogrodnik, despite qualifying in 2nd place in race 1, got taken out in race 1, and a bit like at Hockenheim, not feeling like taking part in race 2. That guy needs some luck. He got the race 1 win at Hockenheim, which wasn't lucky whatsoever. It was just faster than the others, but apart from that, he has been super unlucky throughout this season. Dane, I think we are going to be able to get a few instances of various incidents that happened in that race 2 of the evening.
Yeah, we're going to get a couple of replays up on the screen in just a moment. And I believe this is going to be lap 1 at the start of the race. This is Kittleman getting into the back of Gowrie, I believe, in turn 1. So heading down the straight, he did go very early, Gowrie. He was really leaving the door open for someone to get in his draft and get up the inside. In the end, Kittleman just braking a little bit too late, getting into the back of him, and here, gets on the grass, slams on the brakes. That was probably the worst thing he could have done, because it sent him straight into the barriers. He carried that damage for the entirety of the rest of the race. You can see utter carnage behind him in the back of that shot. Some of the drivers managed to get through that very cleanly, and others not so much. But yeah, that's how Gowrie went from first to last in the space of about 20 seconds.
And we have another replay. I think this might be Danny Lee's perspective of that incident. And man, well, Danny was super consistent last season, and this season he hasn't really done anything wrong, Danny, but just keeps on getting hit. And man, it was another Indy Autosports car, and then, now, I'm not sure if that was a tap or whether Lee kind of saw what was happening just in front of him and maybe went across the track. I mean, if there wasn't a tap, then it might be Danny in trouble there. If there wasn't a tap, then obviously it wasn't Danny's fault whatsoever. So, yeah, dreadful race 2 once again for him. And, well, usually he has one good race and one bad race, does Danny. It was 2 bad races, though, tonight. So, super disappointing for him. And yeah, we were kind of expecting chaos at the race starts, and boy did we get it, particularly in that race 1. So we've got some interviews with various drivers to come up, and well, I fancy like having a chat with Mark Hutchinson first, because Mark was able to get a fantastic points haul tonight, finishing in 2nd position in race 1 and 4th position in race 2, along with 3rd position as well in qualifying. Congratulations, Mark. I mean, what was it about this circuit? Because, well, I think this was by far your best meeting of the season.
Yeah, it's not bad. I did all right there. To be honest, I don't really know where the pace came from. I mean, I knew from practice the car was quick, but I just didn't quite think it was podium quick. So it's nice bit of luck there. I think with the carnage in turn 1 as well, and the first race definitely helped. But yeah, I think it was Tom and Jensen behind me, and they kept me honest the whole time, really.
Yeah, what was your perspective of both crashes, actually? I guess the first one was in your mirrors, and then the second one, I don't really know how you avoided it.
The first one, not really sure I could say. I don't think the language would be appropriate. But I needed a change of underwear, that's for sure. The second one, what happened the second one? I can't remember.
Well, I'm not quite sure what it was from your perspective, but we had Lee cutting the first chicane before the corner even started. Then we had the 2 leaders crashing into one another, but you managed to get through it. And then you had a terrific battle with Nicholas kind of just bats you getting past him, then he getting past you. It seemed like you had a lot more straight line speed than him, but he seemed to have the edge through the corners.
Yeah, it was a great battle with Nicholas. We like you say, I was a bit faster on the straight. I think when the first time he got past me, I think he launched it over the curbs a bit in the Ascari and got a slight bit of damage to the rear. That definitely helped me, but so yeah, I was able to get back past him again. But yeah, soon enough, I think he was buttering me up a bit for a couple of laps. I wasn't expecting the move going into the second chicane, so when he sent it, I was, oh no. But he got past and he did it clean, and I couldn't really keep with him. Couldn't keep with him, so hats off to him. He did a great job. I think he's showing why he was champion last season. He's so fast.
Definitely, yeah. And at one point, of course, it was working fantastic for Evo SR. You had the 1, 2, 3 locks out. In those situations with Aaron, you know, leading the championship, with him having a great chance at the championship, does it get a little bit tactical now from now on in the season, where maybe you race Nicholas particularly hard just to, you know, help Aaron out a bit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, no matter who it is, I'm going to race them hard. That's just the way it is. I like beating people. But like you said, it's going to have to get more tactical now come to the end of the season with him with a good lead. It's definitely going to be my job, I think, hopefully, to make sure he keeps that lead with no matter who it is, with Nicholas or if it's with Michael if he comes back, or anyone else who wants to challenge him for it. They're going to find it hard to beat him this season with the way we're driving. I think the whole Evo team is driving so well this year, and the Corvette is unbelievably fast. So they've got a hard job of catching up.
Awesome. Well, that's what I like to hear, because often we hear teammates saying, "Oh no, you know, it's totally even still, and you know, absolutely no difference." But no, good that you're going to try to help and take the title. Before we let you go, Mark, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. Everyone at Evo SR, they've really given me a lot of support, and we give each other a lot of support for these races, and we're always in practice sessions together. It's a great community. You guys as well for hosting the races and streaming them, of course, and my family, and most of all my brother. It's his birthday today, and he asked me for a podium. So there you go, bro. Happy birthday.
What a birthday present. He'll certainly forgive you after not getting him anything else.
Yes,
thanks for having
100%.
a chat with us. Thanks for having a chat with us, Mark. And yeah, best of luck next time.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thanks. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Mark Hutchinson there, your 2nd and 4th place finisher tonight. Dane, who are we going to have a chat with next?
Well, he wasn't here earlier, but he is waiting now. I think only place we can really go is to Nicholas Laubish, because of course winner in race number 1 and doing a pretty good job in race 2 as well. He joins us now. Nicholas, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Well, a pretty fantastic result for you here today. Pretty much as good as it could have been. Only 1 position extra that you could have got from today's event, winning the first race. That was a pretty, I want to say easy, but obviously it's not easy. But a pretty comfortable finish for you in the first race.
Yeah, the first race was close to perfect. I still try to somewhat get used to the brakes, especially for T1. It's incredibly hard to break the car down in the Porsche. So I made a lot of mistakes there in race 1, but I finally really got into it. And in race 2, I managed to gain somewhat about 2 or 3 tenths to most people just in the braking zone to T1. But unfortunately, I tried to somewhat leave about 1 second to half a second to everybody else on track in the first turn. But someone still managed to hit me in the back, and therefore I was about 5 to 6 kilometers per hour down on the straight, which was very frustrating. I was driving behind Mark the whole time, and I just wasn't able to pass him because the Ford was way faster than the Porsche in general, and then I got the damage. But in the end, everything still worked out. It's just unlucky that the race isn't about 3 or 4 laps longer, than I could maybe have catched Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. You were flying in the second race despite the damage as well. It must have been a bit nerve-wracking starting from 15th in the second race, having seen what happened in race number 1. Obviously, you would have seen that in your mirrors. Very often at Monza, you'll see carnage on the first couple of laps. It must have been a pretty nervous time for you heading into right into the middle of the pack in race 2.
Yeah, I was pretty released when I saw that the guy in front, I don't know who was P1, he started extremely early, and I just didn't really know that you could start that early. So I already had that big of a gap to the guys in front, which was pretty lucky for me because I just wanted to get through. I know that I have the pace to get through everyone, but I just don't need any damage. But unluckily, it didn't work. I knew there's gonna be a lot of carnage again, especially here on Monza. It's like in every race, also in real life. But in the end, it somewhat worked out. I didn't have a completely damaged car, just a bit slower than it should be, but I think that's still fine.
Well, Road America up next in a week's time. What are your thoughts of that circuit heading into round 8?
Yeah, I just tried it like 2 or 3 days ago because it's currently also in the official calendar, but yeah, it's a bit hard in the Porsche because you have to drive that zero wing and you have to drive a high camber, so that you are always in the traction control, and it's just really hard to drive that car. But Road America is definitely a track where you can race a lot, and I hope, if I'm honest, that we're gonna have a big reverse grid because it's always fun to get through the fields, and most people are always very respectful to each other, and especially on Road America, there could be a lot of good racing.
Well, we hope that there's a lot of good racing as well. Well, Nicholas, congrats on the win in race 1 and second place in race 2. Good luck for next round at Road America. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Of course, thanks to Urano and all our sponsors, Heineken Media, Huawei and HP, and again to my father, who again watched this race.
Well, that's very nice indeed. Well, Nicholas, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. It was great to hear from him there, and a fantastic result for him. Literally only missed out on one position in the entire event.
Yeah, and if he keeps on driving like that, then, well, could well be a double champion, a bit like Tom McMahon in this championship. Next up, I think we're going to have a chat with Drew Becker, because Drew wasn't a perfect round for him, but did get the race 1 win, I believe, in the amateur category. I think I've got that one right there, Drew. I struggled to recall completely because it feels like a long time ago, and it was just a very chaotic race 1 for you. Great result, but well, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, race 1 was a little intense. We kind of talked about it in the Autosport, saying be ready to use the escape route. And once I saw, I think it was Emil and Danny collide, I immediately just dove into it. So that was kind of the only saving grace. But race 1 was fun. Managed to get the AM win, like you said.
And then race 2 was kind of a bit of an overhang from race 1 because you just kept on battling James Crouch, I believe it was. There was absolutely no separating you two, but well, it looked like a lot of fun in that battle. It looked quite respectful.
Yeah, it was intense. I definitely had a moment where I tapped him in the rear a little bit. I think it ended up being a 0x going into turn 1. But an incredibly tough guy to overtake. Eventually, I just kind of decided on waiting behind him as we worked our way through, I think, what were we at the time, like P9. So just kind of try to stay behind him and follow him through as we passed. I think guys like Chris Van Den and Steve Burke and all those. And then eventually, I got my pace up, and I think I was faster than everybody else in front of me, or at least consistently faster. And then going into Variante, the first chicane, or second chicane, I got a nice little slowdown that hit 0.0 and did not clear, so I had a nice stop hold for 41 seconds. So ruined my chances of a podium finish.
Yeah, have you ever had an instant like that happen before where it hasn't cleared the slowdown?
Not in a race. Definitely had it in a practice before, but it literally sat at 0.0 for a good probably 2 seconds as I watched. I think I slowed down on the outside of Ascari, and Mark went by and he thought I ran out of fuel. I was just like, okay. So little heartbroken because of that one.
Well, we're fortunate we're back racing again next week. There's no break weeks or anything. We've got Road America next up. Are you going to be able to attend that round? And if so, what's your feelings about that track?
I should be. I've maybe driven a collective 15 laps on Road America, so it's going to take some practice, like we put in here at Monza. So we'll see where I can get.
Awesome. Well, it's possibly my favourite track, maybe just behind Suzuka. So yeah, I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun learning it. Before we let you go, Drew, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, the usual shout out to the boys. I think Kevin and I and Colin, Tom, all of us, we put in probably over the last 3 days, probably over 130, 140 laps of practice. So just thanks to those guys for pushing us a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Drew. And yeah, best of luck next time out.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Drew Becker there, your race 1 winner in the amateur category with 7th place overall, and then in race 2, 17th overall. But yeah, with that 40-second stop and hold, probably lost him the best part of a minute, would have undoubtedly been fighting for a top 5 had it not been for that. We might have time for one more interview, Dane, I think.
Yeah, we certainly do, and I think it's time to bring in, if I am correct, race 2 AM winner. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Vandenesse. Let's get him in for a chat now at the end of the broadcast. Chris, can you hear us?
Yes.
Well, it was a very interesting round for you. Both races, you were involved in a battle pretty much throughout the entirety of both races. As you usually are in this series, we always tend to find you in the middle of things. Pretty intense stuff for the most part.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it in general. Obviously, after Silverstone, it was quite some battles over there, and managed to keep the momentum going for this race. Although I really felt that the BMW wasn't that strong in this track, so especially in the second half of both races, I really struggled with the tires.
Yeah, we did see your pace tend to drop off near the end, or the second sort of half of each race. Yeah, the BMW, it's an interesting car choice. We don't have too many of them. The field's pretty much dominated by Corvettes and Porsches. What do you think the main strengths of the car is? Do you think there's going to be circuits where the BMW is more favorable than the other cars? Because I don't think we've really seen that so far this season.
Yeah, I think Monza is one of the worst tracks, honestly, because the BMW tends to like the faster corners, like the really long corners, where you need quite a bit of downforce, and then you can trim the BMW down with the downforce and actually gain a lot on the straights, is what I'm finding. So I think actually Road America might be a really good track coming up next. So we'll see what we can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Road America up next. So yeah, it's maybe not too many long corners. I guess you've got the carousel. I guess it's probably one of the longest corners in the Canada. I guess the BMW might be a bit better at. And the rest of the circuits on the Canada, what are you thinking? We've got Daytona, Zandvoort, Suzuka, and Sebring. I would guess Suzuka's probably going to be a good shot for this BMW.
Yeah, Suzuka's probably going to be really good. I also think Sebring and Daytona are going to be good, because I really love those tracks. I've done a lot of endurance races on them, so I really know them very well as well. And obviously we've had some great results in the past on those tracks, so really exciting second half of the season, I think.
Absolutely, and taking the amateur win in race 2, a nice big haul of points as well, and it's looking pretty good for you for the rest of the season. Fighting more or less up there. You're always giving us fantastic racing. I guess you'll be looking forward to the last 5 rounds of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's a shame for Drew what happened to him, but I do have to say he made a very ambitious move in race 1, which I mean, he's kind of paying me back with this win, of course. But it's I'm very happy to be in such a close title fight.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you very much for joining us for a chat. We'll see you next week at Road America. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, the whole Performance Link team, of course. They supply performance car parts, and basically Tom couldn't race tonight, so I really want to give him a shout out as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
Was it good to hear from the Sam? And I believe we have a little bit of time for one final interview.
Yeah, just a couple of questions with Emil Vinbo, who joins us now. Emil, an entertaining race tonight. First up, race 1, the race starts. You gave us a bit of an explanation about kind of what happened there, but yeah, that looked like a very tricky situation.
Yeah, not the best thing I've ever done by a long mile. But yeah, I think I had a slightly better start than the guy in front. Was slightly alongside. Was hoping that I would get room. Didn't until very late. And then, yeah, I was just way too late on the brakes. Trying to get off the grass first, and then tried to go for a very small gap as I was already very late on the brakes. Went a bit too far to the right, clipped the grass, and yeah, lost the car. And I, yeah, sorry to all the people who got hit in that. Obviously not my intentions.
Race 2 was much more positive though. It was a very fun race, started right from the back, and you managed to get, in the end, to 6th position. I mean, you could talk for an hour about that race, honestly, but particularly the final few laps, battling with Chris, battling with, you know, Matty and Dean, Stephen and Kate. That looked like absolutely epic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but not what I wanted to do, because I think I had the pace to catch Daniel. But yeah, Chris was very good at defending. Fair, but on the limit. Yeah, I think I was responsible for one of my mistakes. In Ascari, we made a bit of contact, and I got a slowdown from it. But yeah, that was my own bad, so then yeah, just happy that I got the position in the end on the last corner.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting finish to just about claim that 6th position. Before we let you go, Emil, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I guess the usual Dane, everyone else at Kairos for their support, you guys for the broadcast and the league, and then the coaches at Apex Racing Academy for helping myself and many others become better drivers.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Emil, and yeah, hope to see you back on the podium very soon.
Yep. So.
Emil Vinbo there, finishing in 32nd place in race 1. Well, he didn't finish race 1, but certainly a finish of 6th place in race 2 was a much better performance, and yeah, certainly an upturn in form for Vinbo after that race win as well, back at Hockenheim last week. Next round of the Championship Dame is one of my favourites. It is Road America. I think in any car, it is a lot of fun, that track, but I think particularly kind of these high-powered GT cars, it's really at its very best. You can really push it through that turn 1, through some of the kind of medium radius corners, and also of course super raceable as well, because we've got those very long straights. So wow, I'm in envy of the drivers there racing around that circuit.
Well, I can say I'm not. It's probably one of my least favorite circuits on the calendar in terms of driving. I just, for whatever reason, the track just doesn't click with me. But it does normally give us some pretty good racing. So hopefully that will continue that trend. We've had some fantastic racing all season, every single round really. Road America usually gives us some good racing. Got those 2 long straights as well. The run down to turn 5 is usually very, very exciting. We usually get some really good battles through this circuit, so hopefully we'll get some good battles next week. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. And yeah, we normally see the fair share of incidents as well. There's no tarmac runoff to speak of anywhere on the circuit, except for I think the outside of turn 5 is the only place where there is actually tarmac runoff. And yeah, it makes it a bit difficult. If you run off wide a little bit. Here at Monza, we saw a couple of drivers running wide. They got a couple wheels into the gravel. Road America, it's grass, and grass is slippery. Grass makes you spin, and yeah, that very often ends up in some mixed up grids where you have some of the drivers making a very small mistake, and then suddenly they're sent 10 places down the order.
Yeah, so yeah, going to be tricky is that circuit, and hopefully another couple of great races, just as we saw tonight, of course. And the best way to catch it, well, the only way to catch it, is by watching us on Apex Racing TV on YouTube. Give us a subscribe and also give a like as well to this video, then you're more likely to get it recommended to yourself next time. And it's also more likely that the YouTube algorithm will bless us as well. So if you do leave a like, then it's really supporting the channel. We super appreciate it. We've still got 5 more rounds of this championship to go, and yeah, if they continue like we've seen in recent weeks, it should be a fantastic run to the finish. Also check out our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages, where we're constantly posting little highlights of each of our races, along with updates about what is going on Apex Racing TV. Also, of course, thanks to Wave Italy. And of course, if you are looking to get yourself some sim racing pedals or steering wheels, or get some driver tuition, Wave Italy is definitely the place to go. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring this series, being the title sponsor for the championship, and also offering some super prizes. Also, of course, thanks to our overlay provider SDK Gaming, to Virtual Racing School, and to Apex Racing Academy. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Dane Baird, from Sam Kume, and from Mark Trenter, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you in 1 week's time at Road America for round 7 of the championship. See you then.